Welcome to another episode of Progress Always, where we are here with Margaux Alvarez. Your resume is so tight. Business owner, fitness coach, winemaker, 7-time CrossFit Games athlete, tactical games, NBC Titan Games, 2-time American Ninja Warrior. What is it you have not done? This is a long time coming. I've wanted to have a conversation with you for a really long time. My first exposure to you was in Wisconsin, watching you suffer through that marathon row at the CrossFit Games. And in the aftermath of that event win for you, I started tracking you and seeing all the other things that you're up to and that you've kept up with since then. And I just find you a fascinating individual. And I want to know more about her and what she has going on. So with all that being said, let's go back in time a little bit. What was the inciting incident in your hero's journey that has led to all the habits and behaviors that have led to now?
Oh man, that's a great question. First, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I think there's kind of been, I would say, layers of pieces. I think growing up in an environment where I was allowed to do a lot of different activities and sports and movement pieces, whether it was, taekwondo, volleyball, ballet, like all these different things. I think a lot of those experiences allowed me to kind of dabble in different activities that allowed me to pursue finding things that I liked and enjoyed. Always felt like I could pretty much do a little bit of anything,
Mm-hmm.
which allowed me to kind of grow and expand over the years.
Yeah.
I think there for sure was a one pivotal point where I kind of suggest it set me on my trajectory of where I'm at now. And I think that was
Mm-hmm.
like my sister's passing in 2008. It was obviously tragic, and I would change anything to have her here with me.
Sure.
I also believe everything happens or doesn't happen in life for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
good, bad, and different. And people may disagree, and that's their own opinion. And I for sure, like I would love to change things, but I think that was very pivotal in the sense of I learned a lesson at a young age that, you're not guaranteed tomorrow, next week,
Mm-hmm.
next month, next year, and that you should embrace as much as you can of life and make the most of it. And she was, that breathing example of that. Like one of our last experience or our last time together was when we went snowboarding in Montana. I was home for
Mm-hmm.
holiday break. We went snowboarding. I was exhausted. It was, time to call it a night. And she's like, I'm going to get dressed and go out with my girlfriends. And she went out with her girlfriends and stayed out too late. She's supposed to meet me at the airport the next day. I had an early flight. Didn't happen, but I didn't fault her at all because like she wanted to go hang out with her girlfriends. But
Yeah.
she really embodied like making the most of every opportunity and just really
Mm-hmm.
living fulfilling life. She'd actually expressed to my mom that she had a feeling that she was going to die young, which is crazy because she was a very intuitive individual.
Mm-hmm.
Very
She older or younger?
She was younger. So I was the
Okay.
eldest. She was 2
Okay.
years younger than me. Kirsten was 20. She was 20 at the time, and then Remy was 2 years younger than her, so 4 years younger than me. So
Mm-hmm.
we were all kind of like 2 years and 3 weeks apart. But she expressed that. So I think that was a very pivotal. I know that was a very pivotal moment in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and it set me on a trajectory to say, hey, like if there's something I'm going to go after, I'm going to give it everything I got. I'm going to put everything into that. If I fail, I fail. At least I tried, and
Mm-hmm.
that has definitely kind of followed me in life. But I think it's allowed me to give me this outlook and this attitude where, hey man, like I don't know if I'm going to have next year. Like not that I want to think like that, but
Yeah.
I also want to make the most of everything that I have. So I think that was a very pivotal moment in my life. Obviously, there's lots of layers in terms of like who I am as an individual, my
Mm-hmm.
mindset, my character, my authenticity. I think is very important. I stand by that. I like
Mm-hmm.
pride myself in that because I think it's important to be authentic because again, we have this one life, right? We're not
Yeah.
guaranteed it. So might as well make
Mm-hmm.
the most of it. So yeah.
Totally. So athletics is one thing, right? There's an aptitude, there's experience, there's the sport finding you. I love the fact that you have such a diverse athletic background. In coaching parents of young athletes, it's like let that kid play everything.
Yes.
I think it's a tragedy in this day and age that you know we're selecting these kids and putting them in on these trajectories so damn young that they burn out,
Yeah.
or they like it's you see it in baseball all the time, like kids are having Tommy John earlier and earlier and earlier. So that like athletics is one thing, but entrepreneurship's a whole nother deal. because there's so much unknown, there's so much trial and error, and a lot of it is a very conscious decision. Like,
Mhm.
how did you find winemaking? You
Great
know,
question. Yeah,
as opposed to starting a supplement line,
for
or
sure.
something that's kind of parallel to what
Not
you
completely.
spent so much of your life doing, right?
Yeah. I think, and that's a great question. I think, to circle back real quickly to like entrepreneurship, it's a lot harder than I think what people realize.
Mhm.
People don't understand the nuances or the behind the scenes. I always think of it kind of like the Wizard of Oz, right? Like you pull back the curtains and you're like, oh, I didn't know, I didn't see all this. And it's like, then they start to understand the layers that go into it, especially, businesses with industries that are very difficult. Like the wine for me, I, I had some property, my family had some property where I'd go back and I would harvest every year. Like given the season of competition within CrossFit. Like I could only go
Yeah.
back for a couple of weeks or a week and here and there until I was actually on the farm, farming it, weekly. I
Hmm.
loved the parallels between fitness and training in the gym and being on the farm. Like I love physical labor. I love hard work. I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. Like if I'm going to do something, I want to physically be in part of it because then I
Hmm.
know my blood, sweat, and tears went into producing something, right? And I think for me, seeing that the wine and fitness were very related, even though people say like wine and fitness, like that does not go together. I mean, my whole motto is work hard, wind down, right? Whether you drink or don't drink, you don't have to drink. But the whole philosophy is like, you work hard in the gym, you make the most of it each and every day, right? At the end of the day, you're going to have, bonbons with the kids on your couch, maybe a glass of wine or a beer. But the whole philosophy is that you make the most of everything, embrace the struggles, celebrate the successes. Again, because we're not guaranteed next week, next
Hmm.
month, next day.
Yeah.
And for me, is like I love that you spend the time in the farm, you harvest the grapes, you crush the grapes, you press them, you let them sit, you have to age them. Then finally, a couple years later, you get to finally enjoy that bottle with a friend or friends and get to celebrate some success or embrace the struggle that you're having. And for me, it was all about the process. And I've talked about this with training and business, but it's like we're going to spend so much more time like in this journey. Like here's the beginning, here's the end. Like when you stand on the podium, when you get that trademark, oh, congratulations, yay, but then like all this time is here. So learning to embrace that process was very important to me.
Hmm.
And so after I think it was 2015 at the CrossFit Games, I finished ninth that year. Um, my coach and partner at the time, we were talking about, what's the next step? Like what's going to
Hmm.
happen? Like where do you want to do? What do you want to do next after this? And I think it was tough because I knew in my eyes I'm not going to be an athlete forever. I mean, I'm not going to compete. I am an athlete at heart forever, and I will always be an athlete.
Yeah.
But I knew I wasn't going to compete within the CrossFit space forever. I knew there would be maybe a time that it would come to an end, or it
Hmm.
would start to change and pivot. So I thought, well, what am I going to do after that? And so the thought process was, well, I love wine. I love the winemaking process. I love this. Maybe I can, launch a business in kind of unison with the fitness, in I would say in parlay maybe of it, saying, hey, how
Yeah.
does this follow afterwards?
Hmm.
And in theory, it sounded great. As I started to do everything, the wine industry is very difficult. It's very hard. It's a very mafioso industry where it's kind of a pay to play industry where having a large budget is very important. Like they have a running joke in the wine industry. If you want to make $1 million, you need to start with 5 million. Like, cool, great. I wish I would have known this years ago. At the same time, I've learned a lot about business. I've learned a lot about pitching, about your storytelling. I've learned a lot about, how do you manage your inventory? How do you manage events? And again, alcohol is difficult. Like if I would have done like soda or like candy, it would have been way easier. But I don't want to like again necessarily promote that because it's like not that you can't enjoy soda and you can't enjoy candy, but
Hmm.
it's just like this interesting parallel where wine and alcohol it's different, right? So like
Hmm.
having to navigate that and say, hey, like again, you don't have to drink, that's fine, but this is my business, this is my industry. So it was a lot of learning experiences, a lot of learning curves, very different and difficult, but it also taught me a lot that I can utilize now for like my coaching business and
Hmm.
for my remote one-on-one clients and for like my remote programming and even my in-person events that I do, my workshops. Like
Hmm.
it's a learning experience to understand like, all right, how can I maneuver and navigate around this? But
Yeah.
for me, I'm always going to love wine because I love the wine process. I love celebrating, opening a bottle, or having beers with friends, hanging out, and like just relaxing at the end of the day. And everyone has their own cup of tea. That's totally fine. But finding what allows you to really just wind down at the end of the day is important
Yeah.
because I think we get caught up in life, and that the next goal, the next aspiration, the next quarter, the next year, like we're constantly pushing, especially in our society, right? You go to Spain,
Hmm.
it's a lot different. But
Oh
here in the
yeah.
US, it's like more 60 hours, 80 hours, 100 hours. It's like damn, when do we get to enjoy life? When we retire,
Mhm.
when we're 60, 70? What if we don't retire? What if we love do we do what we're
Yeah.
doing? We continue to do that, right?
Mhm.
So finding that balance is important. But I know I kind of went
Yeah.
off tangent there.
No, that was awesome. That was awesome. Spain's the motherland. I was born in Madrid, so yeah.
Oh, you are? That's amazing.
Mhm.
I love it. I lived in Salamanca for about 5, 6 weeks. I did
Okay.
abroad out there in 2004, and that's when my Spanish was, like, the best. I was all my classes were in Spanish, was speaking it fluently, and then ever since then, just, like, slowly just
Where'd you go to school?
University of Salamanca.
Okay.
So
That's
I
awesome.
went to school in Hawaii Pacific University, but I did my
Yep.
study abroad, through UH, University of Hawaii, in,
Mhm.
Not Waikiki, in,
Wahoo.
Manoa.
No,
So
okay.
yep, Manoa, and then, so the program was through them, so I did, like, 6-week program out there, I think, and it was amazing, I loved it. I wanted to do more, but
Yeah.
it was just 6 weeks, so but I loved
That's
it. But yeah, I
awesome.
love Madrid. When we went to Portugal when I was over there, it was
Mhm.
amazing. I'd love to go back. I really wanna go to Barcelona. I've never been over there, so
Okay.
yeah, if I
Yeah,
was to live abroad, it would be Spain or Italy. Those are the 2 I kinda look to for some reason, I
that's
don't know
awesome.
why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Spain's about you know, culturally diverse, regionally diverse, I should say,
Yeah.
as the uh as the states is. You know, the Pacific Northwest compared to the Deep South, compared to New York
I can see
City, compared, you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
the dialect is different. You know, you're in a different region,
Mhm.
even though it's still a foreign country, all that kind of good stuff. Yeah, it is definitely worth exploring.
That's
It's,
awesome.
yeah.
My great-grandfather's actually from Bilbao, like, northern
Mhm.
Spain,
Mhm.
so it'd be awesome to go out and check it out.
Nice. What's your heritage?
So my dad's from Mexico, so, like,
Mhm.
Mexican Spanish, because my great-grandfather's from northern Spain,
Mhm.
and then on my mom's side, it's French, Basque, Hungarian, and German. Mainly
Okay.
French, Basque, and Hungarian, and a little bit of German,
Mhm.
so I would say a little Mediterranean mix.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
But, yeah.
The process, right? I have a lot of, just because of the circle that I orbit, a lot
Mhm.
of athlete turned entrepreneur conversation, or military turned entrepreneur conversations. And something that always shows up is the not, I wouldn't even say it's a love for the process. It's an acceptance of the process. Like, this is just
Mm.
what's required, right?
Yeah.
It's not inconvenient. It is what it is. And the sooner we move through this, or the better we move through this, the more efficient we move through this, the better off we'll all be. I just shut down my first location for the gym. And when we had the movers come in, because I couldn't, for the life of me, I just could. You talk about the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. I could not get the fucking leases to line up. So to move from one location to, I'm in this dead zone of lease
Yeah.
negotiation before we can take this next location. Uh, the movers show up and they're like, dude, this is a lot. And the bitching just ensued. And I was like, first of all, I used to work for a furniture company. So I'm looking at that big ass truck and I'm like, oh, we could do this in 2 loads. They're like, we don't know, man. It's going to be a long day. Da, 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 da. And I was like, look, man, I felt like I was talking to my children for a second. Like I was trying to convince my son to go pick up the dog shit. I was like, dude, the sooner you do that, the better off we're all going to be. And you can choose to do it with a smile on your face, or you can choose to be miserable. You can make this a
Yeah.
really long day, or it can just take as long as it takes. It's really up to you.
It's a great attitude.
Is that
Yeah.
born? What came first, the farm or sports for you?
So for me, sports came first.
Okay.
In high school, so, like, I mean, when I was growing up, I mean, tennis was the first thing I played, like, way back in the day. I was, like, 5 years old. Did tennis, like, the pee-wee tennis, like, super fun stuff, and then it moved into,
Hmm.
like, to golf and ballet, did gymnastics for a little bit, like, a year, and then moved into, like, golf was mainly kind of the thing, taekwondo, ballet, and then it kinda moved into volleyball and golf, and I focused on those 2 pretty much, all of high school. I did some horseback riding as well, and I wanted to go
Hmm.
into competitive. I did some competition within, like, Western and equestrian within horseback riding,
Oh,
did some
cool.
competition with taekwondo. Like, I'd love to, like, continue it all, but I'm like, how do I do 5 sports at once? Like, it's kind of impossible. But I think the Taekwondo was really important because it instilled that mindset, that
Mhm.
perseverance, the ability to continue on and like stay even level, like an even kind of keel with the head. I
Yeah.
think golf was also very important for my mindset as well. It's like you have a shitty hole, you have a crappy hole. Well, you got to let that go because you got 17 more holes, and that's just day one. What if you're playing a
Mhm.
4-day tournament? You're playing both Saturday, Sunday. Like you have a lot ahead of you. So I think
Mhm.
it was really important. I think that set the precedent. It also helped me refine things and work through things. That was kind of the first aspect. But again, I was never afraid of hard labor. I loved all that. Then I was once I mean, I was going back and forth to the farm through competition. And in 2015, after the games, figuring out, all right, if I'm going to continue to do this, how's this going to look like?
Mhm.
Descending in 2016, decided to start the business. Went to the farm, did the harvesting. Was transporting grapes from Utah to California because Utah's different with their licensing. It was going to take like 2.5 to 3 years to get the licensing. So instead of waiting in that process, because you can't make money while you're waiting for the process. So if I would have made any money from that time frame, like they could have come after me and be like, you can't have your
Yeah.
license. So I was like, all right, well, how
Yikes.
do we work around this? So California was the best option. Um, and was there again, love the physical labor, like pulling sleds through sand. It'd be a bitch and a half to get that 300-pound like wheelbarrow of grapes through the sand. But I'm like, well, this is part of my training now. Like even better. I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
I love that grunt work. Like I just love that stuff, like sled work, pull pushes, all that stuff.
Mhm.
So there was there for again 2 years. Finally got the like everything approved in 2017, literally the week of regionals in 2017. Like,
Oh.
talk about being able to compartmentalize. I became very good at compartmentalization. And I talk a lot about this with my clients. I talk
Mhm.
about it even online on social. Like, having a purpose and being able to compartmentalize things can be very beneficial. Understanding when you can separate that and like peel away from that so you can still stay human and still have your emotions is also very important.
Yes.
But understanding, knowing, all right, I'm physically in the gym. I have to focus on training. When I'm done, I can work on the computer, get licensing paperwork, all I need. So got the license and everything, ability to approve on the like, I think it was like that middle of May in September 2017. And then it was like shift, okay, competition mode. I have to go and like compete and make sure I qualify for the games.
Mhm.
And then being able to next after that, literally shift back and say, all right, I need to get my labels approved. I need to get my labels printed. I need to get the bottles, corks, capsules. I need to get everything ready. And also, can I make sure that I have a distributor in time? That was like the fastest I ever got a distributor to like bring the wine in because every state's a little different with like
Yeah.
licensing. So
Are
it
you
was
are you
yes.
are you are you are you distributing down here in Arizona?
No, no, I did have distribution down there. I right now I'm all out of inventory, which is a good thing, but I'm
Yeah.
working on distribution. I will probably focus just on California and Nevada,
Mhm.
licensing to other state. Every state's different, so every state I need a license. Every state I need a new license for every label.
Okay.
So like I looked at other states and it was like $1,000 for the license and then $100 for each label. I'm like, well, I have 5 labels. That's $1,500. And that doesn't guarantee you any sales into the state,
Right.
right? Like
Right.
that's just to possibly have your wine come in. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of layers to it, but yeah, it was for fitness and training first, then eventually the farm. So yeah,
Okay.
it's,
So
yeah,
here's what I'm not hearing, and this is I'm so genuinely curious. So you got into wine with no apprenticeship, no like previous experience, no like this is how it's
no.
done rule book. Like you just started growing grapes and making alcohol. Like
Yeah, so I mean, so I was doing this with my cause so like my dad and my sister, my mom came at one point on the farm. And so he kind of was doing some traditional, like just like generic homemaking, like home wine making, which is great.
okay,
You're allowed up to, I think it was 100, don't quote me on this. I think it was 100 gallons, which is a lot of wine
yeah, sure,
for home production wine.
okay,
And so that was kind of like learning the process, and that was great. Once we decided to like say, hey, we're going to put this into licensing, we need to make sure we're working with a facility where we can do a little bit more because it's physically hard to like do all that and be competing and still like coaching and training all that.
hmm
So worked with a wine facility in Paso Robles in California to be able to make sure everything was good to go for what we needed to do. To be able to be in two spots at the same time is just near impossible. So
sure,
that made it a little easier and streamlined to do that. So
hmm
launching the wine brand was very important. Getting the brand out there, getting exposure to the brand, building more awareness about the brand was important. Doing yoga and wine nights, and doing events, kind of grassroots efforts was very important. So
hmm
yeah, so I didn't have much mentorship or apprenticeship on that. I was kind of learning as I going. Not that I didn't want to go down that route of doing all the physical winemaking. I love the labor and I love learning all that, but I
hmm
have to be selective of like, all right, well, I'm still in competition mode. I'm still competing as a full-time athlete. I'm still working on those goals. So it was kind of hard to
Yeah.
say, all right, I have to pick and choose my battles and what I'm going to
Yeah.
do. Because trying to do both of the at the same time and full time was very difficult, and it
Hmm.
took a toll. Like once 2018 come, I was like, it was hard to physically and mentally do it both. Because like
Yeah.
my training started to be sacrificed. Like after 2016, like I wasn't not that I wasn't showing up. I was still training 6 to 8 hours a day, but like afterwards, I can't just like disconnect and maybe watch film or say, hey, what else do I need to improve? Maybe I go mobilize. Like, no, I'm on the computer working on licensing, working with a distributor,
Hmm.
working with my connections to make sure I have all the products we need to get that wine sold.
Hmm. Did you have a breaking point?
That's a great question. I don't think I had a breaking point because it was like I don't think I gave myself a chance to have a breaking point.
Right. Yeah. Sure. Sure.
Like people are like, "Well, how'd you do it?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just fucking did it. Excuse my
Mhm.
language, but I just did it.
Yeah.
Like I
We
didn't
can,
give
we can cuss
myself."
this one.
Yeah, I try. I have a very bad sailor mouth, so I try to like keep it on the wraps when I do podcasts. But
Well, if you want
I
to
think I
compete, we
don't.
can do it.
Yeah. Awesome. I think I just didn't give myself that opportunity to like have a breakdown. I think it was like
Hmm.
if shit hit the fan, like I just had to like figure it out. And like we had to like adjust and pivot and figure out what was going to be the next step to make it work. Like there were for sure were times where like, how's this going to work? What are the next steps? I think there may be
Hmm.
like maybe mini breakdowns along the way, but in my mind, it's like, well, this is just part of the process. Like you're going to hit a wall. I think there was a couple of times where it got to the point where I was like, I feel like I'm doing everything in my power to try to get the wine out there, to try to connect with distributors and reps. And I would talk to like the VP of distributor companies, some large brands that are nationwide. And they're like,
Hmm.
yes, we love the product. We love your story. Let's bring it in. But then instead of working upline, I'd be working downline. Eventually I'd get to the sales reps or like the sales managers and like, okay, that's cool. We're going to have a meeting. And then like months go by and I'm like, hey, never heard from you guys.
Yep.
Hey, I don't want to be that asshole to continuously be poking and emailing and calling at the same time. Like, if you want to tell me no, just tell me no. Like, I'll take it.
Hmm.
Like, tell me the honest truth. Be like, hey, we don't want to bring you in. Like, finally, like 6 months later, like, hey, we love the product. We love what you're doing, but we already have wines from Pastor. Or we already have a red blend that we're not going to do. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, I was like, I just didn't ever give up. Like, I think I had so many doors slammed in my face. I was like, I got to the point where I was like, all right, if there's another door slammed in my face, like, it's fine. Like,
Yeah.
fucking take it. Just give it to me next,
Yeah.
next,
You become
And
numb
I
to
don't know.
no.
Exactly. So I think
Yeah.
that resilience. I think I'm pretty
Hmm.
resilient. I have pretty thick skin. I
Hmm.
think I can handle a lot. That doesn't say like, all right, well, it affects me, but I have to like navigate around it and just
Yeah.
continue to move forward.
So here's a question for you. For somebody who loves hard work, who like digs in on grunt work, right? How do you manage that as a coach? How do you create a standard of excellence and at the same time not necessarily judge those who aren't quite there yet against your own self-perception? Like
For
if
sure.
I
And
like if I like grunt work,
yeah,
why don't you?
that's a great question. I think I know that I'm unique. I'm different. I'm probably not the average for sure, right? So understanding that's important.
Hmm.
I think knowing that, I mean, I believe leadership comes from the top, right? The
Hmm.
standard comes from the top. You set the standard, right? If you have
Hmm.
a gym, you own a gym, and you have shitty leadership, or you're not going to lead from the front, and you're not going to set that accountability, then the rest of that will kind of fall in line or not fall in line. So for myself,
Hmm.
it's like this is my standard for myself, and this is what I'm going to put out there as a coach, as someone that is guiding people. This is what I'm looking for. If you're not there yet, that's okay. We'll work there because I know I too was at the bottom when I started. I wasn't the
Hmm.
coach I was years ago. Like I don't toot my own horn, but I'm a phenomenal coach. That is something I love. I love helping people, and that rooted in the fact that I feel like I couldn't help or save my sister. So I think because of that, that allowed me to turn and lean into the passion of like, I want to help others. I want to give back to the community. I want to help elevate other people. So if they're
Hmm.
not where I'm at, that's totally fine. No judgment. Like I will, I will never judge anyone where they're at. Like everyone has their own story. Everyone has their own background. You want to work hard? Awesome. You don't want to work hard? Cool. There's going to be a level at some point where maybe we don't meet eye to eye. Maybe we're on different pages. So either I
Hmm.
need to communicate to that person or that client or that individual I'm working with, and then maybe they need to level up, but we have some sort of connection. And communication, I think, is so underrated, just like walking, right? Like communication, you think you do it, but you could do more. Like, and
Yeah, yeah,
I've learned that a lot recently this year. Like, you think you're communicating, but we can do a better job. We can elevate, right? Like, and all the conversations that we have inside our head, we have the
hmm
most conversations with ourselves. We might
hmm
have these conversations in here, but then we might think, well, did I tell that person that? I think I told him that. And you're like, oh,
yeah.
wait, that was just with myself. That was me, myself, and I, you know? So if someone's not where I want them to be, that's fine. There's a level of communication. It's like, hey, let's work on this. And if there's
hmm
like, hey, well, I can't do that, then okay, maybe I'm not the person, the right person, or the right coach to be there to help you.
hmm
But I will give my all. I will utilize whatever tools I have in my tool belt to help you get there. And if
hmm
not, then hopefully I can create a community that maybe I'm able to connect you with someone else. And
Yeah,
maybe that works more successfully.
sure. We all talk. We don't all communicate.
Yes, that is a
And
great point.
and I'm curious because you alluded to, like, this is something you've been working on very intentionally recently. Was there a moment where you're just like, oh shit, I'm not as good a communicator as I thought I was, or this needs to be improved in order for me to get to where I want to go? Like, how did you come to
Yeah.
this realization to create another silo of work for yourself for improvement?
I think there were some personal experiences this year that have kind of allowed me to reflect a little bit and like, hey, like maybe I'm not communicating the best that I could be communicating. And like I can
Mm,
talk a lot. Like I love talking. I love meeting people. I love hearing people's stories because I'm never going to maybe live the lives of thousands of people that I meet.
hmm
And I think those personal experiences and situations has allowed me like to reflect and say, all right, maybe I thought I was communicating, but maybe I didn't do the best job. Maybe I can improve. And like I think it's tough because as humans, we have egos. We're like we never want to be told that we're wrong, or maybe we don't want to accept the fact that maybe we're not doing the best. Maybe we're not working as hard as we could be. Like we have like these false pretenses, like I'm doing all this work. Like, well, is it the right work? Maybe we need to
right.
just take a step back and maybe it's not the right work we're doing. Maybe we need to reevaluate and pivot and say, hey, what I think I'm doing is maybe not enough and maybe I need to adjust. And so I've slowly started to do that. And again, it takes time, right? Like as we get
hmm
older, we get into tendencies or maybe habits that we've fallen into, good, bad, and different. That maybe it's like maybe that habit had a purpose, but maybe that purpose now has changed. And so now I need to pivot and I need to learn and adjust. And I think we all evolve as people. Like who I was when I'm 26 is definitely who I'm not when I'm 40 right now, right? Like
hmm
I am the same person, but I have led so many 14 years of experiences now, 14 years of things that have happened in my life that I can now kind of pull from. So I
hmm
think it really showed me like communication is important and how we communicate. And when we think we're communicating, maybe we need to do a better job of that. So I'm trying to be more intentional about how I communicate and be more not critical, but maybe more a little reflective on myself. Like, am I doing the best job that I can do? If I'm
hmm
not, then I'll own up to it. Like, hey, like I thought I was communicating. I thought I was, putting this out there. Maybe I need to do a better job.
Yeah.
And I think that's helped a little bit. Again, always a work in progress for sure.
Sure. How do you approach that liminal space, right? Because a lot of how we coach at next level is just accepting the human that's in front of us, that is us, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not a matter of, like, we wouldn't be engaged in this conversation if there wasn't improvement to be made, or you weren't seeking some sort of improvement, right? Which means that presupposes that you aren't where you want to be, right? So
That's a great, yeah, it's a great little reflection piece right there.
right? So that being said, it's not a matter of if, but more a matter of when you regress or relapse or you fall back on old, familiar, comfortable patterns that, for whatever reason, no longer serve you or never serve
Mhm.
a higher, better version of yourself, right?
Yeah,
And
100%.
reframing what the definition of progress. The progress is not for us achieving the goal. It's tightening the feedback loop for when you fall off the wagon. Did you not fall as far? Did you not fall as hard? Right? Did you come back to center faster? Right?
Yes,
That's progress. Right?
100%.
Like, to your point, there's where you are and there's the goal and there's all this shit in between. Like, there's, if we get fixated on either end of the spectrum, that's a very easy way to set yourself up to be stuck, right?
Yep.
So what, as you're moving through your own journey of being a better communicator, when you find yourself communicating in the patterns of an outdated version of Margaux, is it something you wait for your next opportunity to correct, or do you like stop it dead in its tracks and like, wait, I want to recommit that's an old pattern. Let me try this new thing. Like, how do you navigate the in between?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I think if I recognize it, then it's like, bam, right there. Like if I say, or if I start to catch myself saying, hey, I've said this before, or this is a tendency I've done before, like this was a pattern that served me or a habit that served me, but now that has pivoted and changed and no longer serves me. So then I'm like, all right, I'll catch it. And if I feel like I'm pretty good, I have pretty good intuition, but also pretty good aware of like my body and where I'm in space and the conversations I'm having. And if I'm able to catch it right there and understand that, like, all right, cool. Like, how can I adjust and pivot right now? Even if it's like 1 degree of change. And that's something I've
Mm-hmm.
talked about a lot with people, clients, conversations recently. Like that 1 degree of change may not seem like much now, but if it's here and that crackle opens over time, that degree is going to increase. And then next thing you know, like you're 90 degrees from where you started. And that's amazing. So if there's a time where I'm not catching up, then I'll look back and reflect like, all right, how did this conversation go? Whether
Mm.
it's obviously email, text, all that can be cumbersome, right? That's two-dimensional, right? Like on a phone, social media, all that stuff. But if it's in person and you maybe don't catch it, maybe something you can follow up, say, hey, in our conversation the other day, this is what I was saying. I want to make sure that I just clarify that. And something I had was a conversation recently with someone was saying, you know, you touch base on certain things and then you kind of do a recap like, hey, these are the things that I received or I gathered from our conversation. Is this correct? And if it's like, yeah, that's awesome, cool, okay, I communicated well, I received that. If there's something where it's like, hey, yes, but also maybe we talked about this or maybe you missed that, then all right, good, maybe I'm again misunderstanding or maybe we're just on completely different pages, because that is possible. Like how
Mm-hmm.
I interpret something and how someone communicates it, we could be somewhere completely different, right? And then it's
Yes.
like, oh, we wouldn't have never known if we didn't say something. So that's where
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's not immediate, but then it's a little later down the road, whether it's a
Yep.
call, an email, a follow up, an in
Mm-hmm.
person meeting, whatever it might be. So I
Totally.
think I would say it's a little bit of both, depending on the scenario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a good question.
But what I do appreciate, thank you. I received that. What I appreciate about what you said is if you become aware in the moment, what I appreciate is your willingness to catch it and course correct as best as possible, right?
Yes.
So much of like the self-improvement game, fitness, the principles are very much the same. We're so worried about it coming out wrong or it being clunky or not perfect or whatever. But that's part of the deal,
Hmm.
like
It's
in
not going to
it.
be perfect.
No, and in pursuit of a better version of ourselves, it's better to just simply accept the fact that these things are going to show up. It will not be ideal compared to a perfect circumstance,
Yes.
because we're not just improving ourselves, we're also improving the way we interact with the world.
Yep.
And how the world interacts with us more often than not is not within our control.
Yes, 100%.
So
And I think that's the thing to understand, or people, I would hope people would understand, was that we only have so much within our control, right? Like you see
mhm,
those images, like here's our controllables, here's our uncontrollables, right? Like where do we spend that energy and time? Like we
mhm,
can't control how people respond to certain things or their reaction, but we
mhm,
can try in our best effort to control how we communicate or how we
yeah,
talk or how we show up or
mhm,
how we act. And it's like,
yeah,
again, like a lot of it's learning experiences. Like we might think we're going down this right path or doing the right thing, and then it isn't until later, and that later is subjective, right? Maybe later is a day, maybe later is a year. It's like, oof, that was great, or oof, that was not good.
for
But that's
sure.
where, like, I think if we're willing to be learning and experience and say, hey, like, we have to sometimes know, like, where's that line in the sand, right? Sometimes we're
Mhm,
able to, hey, okay, we'll try again. We'll try again. We'll try again. Like, there's opportunities for that, and there's time and purpose for that. At some point, there might be a time where it's like, all right, this no longer serves me. The
mhm,
path that I'm on is no longer the path that I need to be on, want to be on, or thought I would be on. And then that changes. And sometimes it's harder than other situations to sometimes make that pivot and adjustment. And it
mhm,
can be difficult. But we have to understand, like, all right, what is going to allow me to serve myself, but also the people
mhm.
around me better
Yeah.
or more effectively.
That's such a good point because, through that introspection, I think the hardest decisions are the ones that are truly optional, purely optional. You know, the recognition that a relationship no longer serves you, even though at a surface level there may not be anything inherently wrong. It's not abusive, it's not toxic, like all the like really extravagant extreme ends of the spectrum that are
Extremes.
like, dude, get out of there.
Yeah.
Like those red flags may not necessarily exist. And at the same time, it's like, so far in advance, and we watch people do this all the time. They create this dumpster fire out of life as really to create this, to turn on the survival mechanism, right? To force their hand to create a situation or a circumstance where like a decision has to be made.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm of the belief that that behavior is very much a survival mechanism against an unwillingness to make a really hard decision because the situation wasn't really that bad,
Yes.
you know?
100%. It's a 100%. And I think it's hard because sometimes the decisions that we wanna make or decisions that we are wanting to make can be hard and they can be pushed off, like, especially if you said, like, "Hey, well, nothing's, like, glaring out," right? But it's the little things that maybe add up over time or little things that
Mhm.
kind of, like, segment together. So it's understanding and seeing that, like, "All right, well, no longer serves me." And again, I think it also depends because like, it doesn't have to be just personal relationships, it could be work
Mhm.
relationships, it could be careers, it could be pathway, like, "Hey, I don't like this job anymore. I don't like this environment anymore." Like, especially when it's hard when you're in an environment like I mean, I know back in, when I was first starting out, like, there was a gym that I was at and I loved the community. The community is amazing, but, like, there was some toxic environment there and some not so good environment where, like, it made it difficult to train and it made it difficult to, like, continue on, and my coach at the time was very supportive in making sure that I had the best environment, and, like, it was hard because the best decision at the time was to leave that environment. As much as it killed me to leave that environment, because I loved the community, I loved the people, and I was devastated because I was like, I'm no longer gonna be around these friends and these amazing people that I love, but are the people that were there that are making toxic, like, I can't continue to be in this environment because it's not gonna allow me to succeed and allow me to really focus on what I'm doing, and it was hard, but, like, my coach at the time had the best intention for me and wanted me
Mm.
to be in a positive environment. So sometimes we have to, say no to things that we don't wanna let go of, but we have to let go of because that's gonna allow us to, like, let go of that door and close that door so we can open another door.
Mhm.
And it's sometimes maybe hard to see it at the moment, but when you look down, months, years down the road,
Yeah.
it's like, "All right, that was a good decision to go there as much as it pained me to leave, it was good and worth it." And
Mhm.
sometimes it's maybe not always that case, but sometimes we have to allow things to be let go of, right? Things that
Mhm.
no longer serve you or hold you down, like, we have to let them go sometimes as much as it might be hard to, but there
Yeah.
will be something on the opposite side, and like I said in the beginning, like, my belief is that everything happens or doesn't happen for a reason,
Mhm.
good or bad. And like again, like I people be like, "Oh, that's fucking stupid." My mom got cancer and died. I'm like, I'm not saying that like she should have got cancer and died. Like, please, if anyone's out there listening, I'm not saying
Yeah.
that. Like
Right.
again, personal experience. Like, do I wish my sister was killed in a car accident at 20 years old? No, absolutely fucking not. Like, I would love to be able to go and change that. At the same time, I have to learn and understand, like, all right, what was maybe God teaching me, or what was the
Mm.
universe and life trying to teach me at that time? That, like, hey, you need to understand that, like, things are not guaranteed and that things can change at the drop of a hat. And are you able to learn and pivot and make sure you take the most of this opportunity and you learn from this experience so that you hopefully in turn can help others down the road? I really
Mhm.
do feel like that is my purpose. If I was to, have a purpose in life, or if I look back on my life when I'm older, even though I'm older, like down the year, 10, 20, 30 years, whatever, 40, 50 years down the road, I look back like, what is my legacy? Like, I want to be able to elevate people around me. I want to help give
Mhm.
back to people and help them see that fitness is not just exercise and training, but it allows them to find therapy. Like, fitness and running was my therapy. It was my outlet to cope through emotions and to cope through challenges and try to find acceptance. And like, I couldn't save my sister. Like, I know it wasn't my responsibility to save her, but as
Mhm.
the eldest, I was the second mom. I was like, it is my responsibility to watch my first sisters. If someone's making fun of them, teasing them, I'm going to fucking kick that person's ass and make sure that they
Mhm.
are good and that they are safe. And to not be able to feel like I could do that, I was like, in my mind, I need to help other people. How can I help
Mm,
and save other people? So my ability to save people comes through fitness, comes through movement, comes through mindset, nutrition. Like, how can I hopefully impart them through my life experiences? What coaching or life experiences can I share that will hopefully give them a different perspective, that will say, hey, like, and I had, so after the Titan Games, I had so many people reach out to me through social and like say, hey, thank you for sharing your story. You gave me light, you gave me hope that I will be able to get over my sister's passing, or my mom's passing, or my
mm,
aunt's passing. And it was like heart wrenching, because you kind of take on and you hear these people's experiences, but
mm,
I would rather take that on and hear people's experiences and give them that light at the end of the tunnel, knowing that it will be okay.
mm.
It'll be different, but it'll be okay. But you
Yeah.
also can learn from this experience and, hopefully live on for them. And one aspect that I've taken over the years is, and it's actually, I think it's in like the 1885 series, like kind
Mm,
of an offshoot of Yellowstone, but he talks about near the end is like his purpose was to get to the West Coast so that his wife, who had passed away, could see, because in his eyes, she was with him and she got to see what
yeah.
he saw. And I was like,
Yes.
oh my God, that's amazing. I'm like,
Hmm.
maybe that's something that resonated with me. So maybe Kirsten is with me and she's getting to see my experiences. So like, let me travel the world. Let me do all these experiences. Let me do what I truly love, because she's not having this opportunity and chance to be here. So maybe she
Hmm.
gets to live it through me or with me. So I
Yeah.
think that's something I try to like hopefully embody and put out there.
Mm, I love that. My dad passed New Year's Eve 2007,
Oh, damn. I'm sorry.
and then no, thank you. It's all good. Uh, and I went. 2 weeks later, we buried him with military honors, and a week after that, I checked into OCS with the Marine Corps, and then I had essentially like 2.5 years of just busy before like I actually had time and space for the grieving to occur and to really reflect on just missing him and the lesson, like the gift in his passing that I'm supposed to receive from that experience.
Mhm.
you know I- I'm genuinely curious, after your sister passed, how long was it, or what did you move through to come to the lesson and the gift, as opposed to n- not allowing that to
No.
happen?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great question. I don't think there was, I mean, I try to think of like a specific time or moment. I know, I'll give this for a little bit of context. I was on the plane. I was finishing my last semester in Hawaii when my mom had called me and told me everything. So I hopped on a red eye, and on the red eye, I was in this, like, in a dream. I was in some high rise apartment in Waikiki, and I see her come to like this window, this apartment that I was living in my dream, and it's like super crazy outside. It's windy. Her hair's blowing. I'm like, man, it must be noisy. I run over there, open the sliding glass door, and as soon as I open it, it's calm, it's quiet, and it's like peaceful. And she's like, I can't come in, but I'm okay. And then I wake up from my
Mm,
dream, and like must have been like 30 seconds, a minute at the absolute most. So in my mind, I think it was her way to communicate to me that she was okay, that, she can't come in, she can't come back, but she's all right. And so
mm,
that gave me some perspective. At the same time, like, it was so hard because I had multiple dreams after that where like she came back and like was real life, and it was so real. I was like, this is really life. Like, you weren't actually dead. Like, this is amazing. And it was crazy, like absolutely crazy. It gives me goosebumps thinking about it. And I think like it wasn't until maybe, like, I think later, like long time later, she passed in 2008, and it wasn't until I think maybe in like 2011 when I found CrossFit, where I was like, I just felt so like this personal experience of like pushing myself and challenging myself and like doing what I needed to do. And I think that was kind of the initial moment where like maybe I'm kind of working through stuff. Like maybe I kind of buried it, but like it was slowly coming out,
mhm,
slowly trickling out, where I was like okay with it. And then I started working with a life coach, and a little bit before that, like in 2010, I think talking about it was helpful because I started to like maybe unpack everything that I kind of like pushed. I can, like I
mhm.
said, I do a very good job of compartmentalization, which can be not so good because then I
There's
push emotions into a box and
eh,
corner. I'm like, you stay here.
that's there's definitely a dark side of that coin for sure.
Yes, there's a very dark side, and I think that's something I've learned, and I tell
Mhm,
people like, hey, like, they're understanding how to tap into that and how to untap into that is very important.
mhm,
And I think it wasn't until like 2014, 15 when I started competing, and like one of the hardest movements for me were strict handstand push-ups or strict deficit handstand push-ups. And my coach at the time was like, lean into your sister, lean into your Kirsten to like to maybe you can't physically have that, but like lean into her strength that she can give you and tap into
Mhm.
that. And so I did that in 2014, especially into 2015, like just kind of like praying and say, hey, like, give me some guidance, give me some strength. Cause I think she like literally, physically, spiritually, however you want to name it, term it,
Mhm.
like she was able to give me strength to get through those workouts and to be able to continue on. And I think that's where like maybe the layers are starting to understand it and talk about it. And I would start to talk about it, but it wasn't, I think, again, I know this is kind of like not a direct answer, but I think it
Mm.
took a few years over time to like slowly be okay with it.
Mhm.
And then when I started doing yoga and wine nights and talking about her story, like one of the labels was, a picture, a painting that she did actually in her art class.
Mm.
And to be able to be open about it was okay. And I think once the Titan Games came around, like putting my story in national television was like, man, like, I mean, what do I have to lose? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I might be vulnerable and yeah, I might cry and like bawl my eyes out, but I'm like, better to like help one person than like keep this hidden and like never help anyone.
All day long.
Um, exactly. So I think those were kind of like layers upon layers. It's like slowly being okay with it.
Mhm.
Again, I think that dream maybe gave me a little bit of precedence because my sister, she was 18 at the time when Kirsten passed. And for her, it was like, why didn't she come to me? Why didn't she tell me? And I think, I don't know the answer, but I think it was, maybe she wasn't ready in a
Mhm.
point. Maybe she didn't have that experience, the understanding, that the ability
Mhm.
to handle that. So I think for me, it's like it was a layers of years over time where it kind of slowly came out. And I think for some people, if people are watching or listening to this and they hear this, like be okay with it hitting you in waves, right? Like sometimes you're gonna be happy and excited. Yeah, and like other times you're like bawling your eyes out and you're like eyes are all swollen, you're like can't breathe and you're like snots everywhere. You're like, but that's the process, like,
Yeah.
you'll remember, like, there's times where, like, I'll go through old videos. I only have, like, one old video, but, like, I'll go through photos, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I just remember the memories, and I think that's where, like, hey, like, honor that, right? Like, lean
Yeah.
into that. Don't be afraid, and I get everyone's different, everyone has their own healing process, but, like, the more
Mhm.
you're okay with it, the more you talk about it, the more you move through it, good, bad, happy, sad, angry, all that
Yeah.
stuff, like, the better it'll feel. Like, you're still, like, losing yourself. You still lost a part of yourself, but you're still
Totally. Yeah.
better.
It's an iterative process. I've in part a lot of my healing journey, especially since I became a father, has been with plant medicine.
Mm,
And my first experience with it, my dad showed up, and I got to do the thing in the medicine experience, and I thought, oh yeah, cool, daddy issues have been resolved. We are
yeah.
good, and like I did all the crying, and like I have like an amazing relationship with my son and all that kind of good stuff. And at the same time, there's layers to it, so
Yes.
like that first experience was me just acknowledging that I missed him, right?
Yeah.
And the my next experience where he showed up, I got to express my anger for him being gone.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
all of these things are okay, but to your point, like whatever shows up, however it shows up, don't resist it. Like
Yes, exactly.
that's the worst thing you can do,
Yep.
you know?
Like,
And
you kinda put a little wall to, like, not feel those
mhm,
emotions, and I think it's hard because like,
it is.
it's tough because like, we become vulnerable and, like, sad, angry, happy, all these things, and it's like, "No, I must be tough and, like, power through." Like, there can be a time for that for sure, where you might have
Mhm.
to keep your shit together when you're trying to tell a
Yeah.
story and you're, like, trying not to bawl your eyes out, and, like, there's been plenty of times where I've tried and like, "Nah, not happening, fucking
Yeah.
waterworks it is." But there's also other times where I'm super strong and resilient and like
Mhm.
I don't even crack a tear. And I think that's again, it's just different moments and different experiences.
Oh.
But I do agree you should one should be willing to like have that happen. And
Mhm.
I think whether, plant medicine, whatever routes you decide,
Yeah.
anyone decides to go out there, I think there's other therapeutics and there's other ways to explore that. And I think that's why not, right? Like
Absolutely.
whether,
Yeah.
it's psilocybin, MDMA, like all these other things. I know a lot of the stuff is still kind of trial based, right? Or some of
Mhm.
it might be coming out more. But I think it's really important, like, who's to say to someone to tell you, like, this is not, shouldn't do this because it's not
Mhm.
approved or it's not
Yeah.
allowed. It's like that if you're hurting and you're
Mhm.
struggling, like, and you're in a place that's it's controlled or you're with people that you trust, I think trust and being
Setting
comfortable
all
and
day long.
safe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like, do that, lean into that, like
Totally.
and I tell people, like, a lot of my clients that I work with, And even my general program, like my movement and mindset program, my Go Train program, like
Mhm.
mindset is part of our weekly program. Like we have
Totally.
5 days of training of fitness and movement, right? All the good
Mhm.
stuff in there. But then we have a mindset element. And that
Mhm.
mindset element is based mainly on journal work. Like if
Mhm.
you've never journaled, that's cool. Talk about the sun, the moon, the fucking mountains, whatever it is. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, my scab hurts today. And then maybe that scab makes you think your sister. And then your sister makes you think of the
Yeah. Oh
story
yeah.
that helps you unleash everything. And then that 2 minutes turns into 20 minutes. Like, I don't care. Get it out there. Like
Yeah.
journaling and writing is so therapeutic.
Mhm.
And it has been for me for years. And I think for a lot of people that don't do it, like I implore and I encourage you
Yeah.
to try that because I think that's a way, an outlet, right? Talking to
Mhm.
people, right?
Sure.
Journaling, having conversations, voice notes. If you're like, I hate writing, cool, type
Yeah.
on your phone, text it out,
Mhm.
right? But
Yeah.
I think I think any therapeutic and any avenue I think is good versus holding it in.
Yeah, all day. It's funny. I'll tell you a hilarious story. My wife and I were uh, just married, and my dad passed way before we got together, so she never met him.
Mhm.
She's only heard like the mythology of Gail Anders, right? And um, have you seen the movie The Judge with Robert Downey Jr.?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Okay, it's a must watch, like
Okay,
top
I'll have to
10
watch it.
for sure, right? There's a scene in there, Robert Duvall's his dad, and they
Okay.
have a very contentious relationship. He's a hyper successful attorney, his dad's a small town judge, right? And there's a scene in that movie where they're in the kitchen, the backdrop is a fucking tornado is going, and there's alarms, and it's craziness. But they have this argument that reminded me in the moment of a situation that I had with my dad. And I'm sitting
Mm.
here with my wife, she's still leasing with the option to buy, you know what I mean? And uh uh I just boo-hoo, snot out the nose, just like blah.
Yeah,
And
all out.
she just like grabs my forearm. She's like, are you okay? We'll be fine.
I am not okay right now.
This is so healthy for me. Just let it happen.
Yeah, let me do this right now. I just
Like,
need 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes.
oh man! And then next thing you know, it was really funny. Like I think we are all just like starving for permission to just be, and not
Yes.
saying that I'm the catalyst for any of this, but like if you listened in like the silence and the lull after that scene, like all you heard was just like a lot of sniffles and
Yeah,
shit
just
going on in the
crying.
theater. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, just you. But you don't know how and when it's going to show up. But when it does, oh my gosh, like I can't tell you. First of all, like I got to do that in front of my wife, and she got to see that in me, experience that in
Yeah.
me. So like after that, there's nothing else to hide. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
All
you've now seen the dumpster fire that is Michael Anders. Here it is
yeah.
for all to behold. And um eh, there's just a freedom on the other side of that release, you
Mhm.
know? And however it
100%.
shows up, whether it's a scene in the movie or aided with plant medicine and a shaman, who cares?
Yeah.
When it shows up, though, like surrender to that feeling and allow it to move through you. Right?
Yes.
I I
100%.
I feel like you're vibing with this in your movement and mindset program, in that emotion is energy in motion, and for us to stifle that, whether it's positive or negative, for us to stifle that just inhibits the work that we're actually here to do.
Yes, I agree. And I think it's interesting because I don't think people sometimes make the connection that like movement will help your mindset and your mindset will also help your movement. And
Mhm.
I know there's been plenty of times where I've taken like yoga classes or hot yoga classes, and I'll be in there and like whether it's typically it's maybe middle or the end, but either the instructor will say something or like at the end where like I'm releasing and like all of a sudden this wave of emotion comes over me and I just want to feel like bawling my eyes out and like crying and like I'll think typically it's usually about my sister like holding on to something, or like there's all these emotions that maybe I've been holding on to, and all of a sudden because I'm relaxed, I'm released, I've instead of all this tension holding in, like I finally let it go. And I don't think people realize, or maybe they maybe start to realize, but maybe they don't make that connection. But like you hold on, our body holds on to so many emotions like stress, anger, frustration, happiness. Like obviously happiness is always good and joy is always good, but like we don't know that without the opposite, right? Without
Yes.
sadness and anger. And like I think it's very important. Like we we need to move our body, whether it's a walk, a hike, you want to go
Yeah.
do a CrossFit class, you want to go do a Zumba class, you want to walk out with your dumbbells. I don't care. Go do it, right? Anything's better than sitting on the couch all day. But
Yeah.
whatever that is for you, right? You go do some movement. Like your body will feel better, your brain will
Hmm.
feel better, but then also has a core lift is, and now your brain feels better. Now you're talking to yourself more positively. Now your
Yeah.
movement's going to improve. You're not going to be
Hmm.
holding on and be rigid to stuff. Like it's just there's so much that goes into it, like connectivity wise, and I think it's important people see like that mind body connection.
Hmm. That's, me and a couple of buddies that I deployed to Afghanistan with, we all get together every couple of years and we do some adventure, whether it was the Salkantay to Machu Picchu or Kilimanjaro. We got Antarctica on the list coming up.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
so cool. So much fun. But there's also, like, as cool as those trips are, what I look forward to the most, I can't speak for the fellas, but what I look forward to the most is when the hike gets so damn long, you run out of bullshit to talk about, and
Yeah,
it becomes silent, and all you're left with is your truth. And
your own thoughts.
yes, and I come back from every single one of those trips where I'm batting 1,000 on this, like clear on what's next, what's not for me anymore, where I need to go after this, etc. What subtle but impactful shift needs to be made, because you're alone with your thoughts in this like repetitive cathartic movement for a long enough duration that you
Mhm.
run out of the superficial and you're only left with the truth. And that's I did a workshop for 18 counselors and psychotherapists around this issue. It's a cash practice. And one of the things that I teased out with the group is that the people that are volunteering to sit on their couches are already, for the most part, type A by design,
Yeah.
right? So it is also a stereotype of that population that their coping mechanism is to do more, right?
How do you know? Exactly.
And so once I clear the air around that concept, I was like, so when we look at your physical practice, have we ever thought about sitting still as part of your
It's
physical practice?
it's very hard for type A individuals. I can
You know?
like, "Sit still?" "Oh, it's been 5 minutes, I gotta go do something."
Oh man, it
That is
was.
so true. I love that you do that, and people, like I think people, they're like, "Yeah, just, like, sit and chill on the couch for 8 hours." I'm like,
Mm-mm.
but maybe, like, let's go for a walk first, but it is I agree, like, sitting still. And I remember with my life coach, I had a conversation with her years ago when I first started working
Mm,
with her, and we were working through me feeling like I constantly have to be doing something. She's like, "We're human beings, like, it's okay to just to be, we don't have to be doing, we're not human
yes.
doings." And I was like the fucking light bulb went off. I was like, great
We're not
point."
human doings. Oh, I love that.
Right? I was like, "Man," I'm like, props to my life coach, she's awesome. And, like, I just it's interesting because it's like, man, like, that just resonated with me so much. And I think, again,
Mm,
for type A individuals, we're like, "Go, more. Yes, we have to be doing something." Like, in my mind, I'm like, if I'm not doing something, I'm not accomplishing something. Even if it's,
mm,
like, working through my emails or, like, working on video uploads or responding to messages or working on whatever else I need to work on, which I have a laundry list of stuff that's always there, right? And I think to take a break and be like, "Let me just sit and be," like, it's
mhm.
freaking hard.
Yeah.
But like you said, there's a purpose behind it.
Yes.
There is a reason behind it, and
Mhm,
maybe we don't understand it right now, but down the road we
mhm,
will. But it's like, how can we be intentional with our
mhm.
time, with what we're doing? And like
Yeah.
it will be very challenging at first, just like journaling, right? It's very hard to write down your thoughts and emotions. Like, well, what do I talk about? I don't want to talk about myself. I don't want to talk about anything else. Like, talk about the
Yeah.
job that you have, right? Talk about your kids. Talk about like the new backpack you bought, like whatever it might be, because that eventually will crack that door open. That one
Yep.
degree will start to open, and then
Mhm.
eventually you'll feel more comfortable. So same thing, like, all right, I think also like sometimes if you're able to find like, hey, maybe I can't do it by myself, but maybe I can sit and relax with someone. That might not
Mhm.
be ideally by yourself, but that is a
Right.
step in the direction of where you're
Mhm.
trying to get eventually. And it's
Yeah.
not so much right you're where you're at right now, but where you want to be, right? So like what
Mhm.
you're working on now will eventually get you to where you want to be. Stay present, be enjoying the process because that's where you
Yep.
spend most of the time, but also
Mhm.
understand that like, hey, we are getting to the next stage and we are eventually getting there. And I think I just had a conversation with a friend the other day where it's like we're not there right now, right? Individually, wherever we're at, but like we will eventually get there. But it's being present. Like, let's enjoy this. Let's make the most of these
Mhm.
moments and these emotions and these experiences of what we're in because that allows us to be more present, but also allows us to look back later and be like, I'm glad we remember that. I'm glad I was
Yeah.
in that moment. I'm glad I was present with where I'm at right now and how I'm feeling and what I'm dealing with. And even
Mhm.
though the struggles that I'm going through right now, like there's a purpose for these struggles and how we
Yeah.
respond to them will help us for next time when we face another challenge
Oh,
or another
that
hardship.
is so massive. My mantra through this season of change has really been, it's just a moment, dude. It's just a moment.
This
Make
too shall pass.
just make it to the next one. I remember OCS, Officer Candidate School with the Marine Corps. It's my third entry level program. I went through boot camp at the Air Force preparatory school, then boot camp again for the Air Force Academy. Then I got kicked out of
Wow.
school and gave it one more go. That's a conversation for another podcast. But I remember standing there like day 2 of OCS. I'm like, fuck. Now it's January in Quantico, Virginia. It's fucking cold, and this program is twice as long as the last one. Oh. And then it dawned on me, I was like, dude, you just gotta make it to breakfast. Then you gotta make it to
Yep.
lunch. Then you gotta make it to dinner. Then you gotta make it to lights out. Then you gotta make it to breakfast. And I literally I chunked it down to meals for 10 weeks straight. And that practice, is I've transmuted that into other areas of my life when things get tough or I know that like I'm in for it for a little bit. Like,
Hmm.
okay, it's just a moment. Like, let's
Exactly.
just be here right now, do the thing, and we'll reassess when we get to the next moment.
Yep, I love that. That was
Yeah.
a great way to think about it with training and competition, like, just focus on
Mm,
this event, just focus on the moment, like and people would ask me, like, the marathon row that was in 2018, like,
yeah.
"Man, how'd you do that?" I'm like, "Well, I just took of it in chunks," right? Like, because people are like, "Oh, it's so long." I'm like, "Well, you're already telling yourself it's gonna be so long, right?" Like, I remember one of the athletes I remember when Dave Castro announced it in 20 we were at, like, I think, dinner on Monday night, which is typically where they would announce that first workout, and
Okay.
someone was like, "Oh my god, a marathon? That's gonna be so hard." I'm like, my mind was literally was like, all right, let's go. Like I thought we were gonna have a marathon run before a marathon row, which is marathon row is probably better for our bodies, right?
Oh, for
But
sure.
I was like, all right, let's fucking go. Let's do it. Like I saw it
Uh-huh.
coming. I just didn't think it was gonna be that year. But people
Mm,
are like, "Mwah, boohoo." I'm like, you gonna bitch and complain? Like, bitch,
you've already
fucking we
lost.
all applied to be here, right? We all competed and like qualified to be here. Like, let's suck it up, right? It may not be everything we want, but we signed
Hmm.
up for this, right? But but I remember just taking it chunks like, cool, I'm past 2K. Oh, sweet. I got 8,000 meters. Awesome. Cool. I'm at 10K. Like, oh, I only have 10,000 meters left to go. People are like, only. I'm like, bro, like 10,000 is way better than 20,000.
Oh yeah.
So again, just had to take it in chunks. And then it was like, man, like, oh, sweet. I only have 2,000 meters left to go. Like, but again, that mindset is so important. You talk
Hmm.
to yourself negatively, that's going to affect the rest of your body. Like,
Oh yeah.
dial that a change. And if it's, and again, it's hard. If you're in this negative mindset, if you're in a negative environment, it's so much
Hmm.
easier to go on this negative, like negative Nancy shit, right? So
Right.
I'm not saying it's easy, right? It takes time, takes practice, repetition. But if you're like sorry, if you're done with feeling sorry for yourself, if you're like, all
Yeah.
right, this is a line in the sand, like let's buck it up, Buttercup, like
Hmm.
let's go. Then like, cool, let's start with like one thing, like, hey, better to be here than somewhere else, right? Like change
Hmm.
that mindset. So yeah.
Yeah. Margaux, you're awesome. I really
You're awesome. This
appreciate
is
you.
awesome. I enjoyed this
Yeah.
conversation. It was really fun.
Hell yeah. Where can everybody find you, work hard and wind down with you?
Yeah. So they can go to my website, margauxalvarez.com, or they can go Instagram, 321 go GUX. I have most of my stuff on my website for workshops, remote clients working together, my Go Train program. And they can always hit me up I'm on pretty much like every social platform, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, X, Facebook, whatever.
Hell yeah.
But yeah. Some people can find me there and support if they want, like, if they'd like.
Dope. We'll collaborate on something. We'll
Sweet.
collaborate on something in the future for sure.
Awesome.
No
Yes,
doubt.
I'm looking forward to it.
Hell yeah. For
Thank
everybody
you.
out there listening, yeah, well, thank you. For everybody out there listening, remember, it starts with integrity, courage, and ownership. And what I'm super excited about is the alignment village that we've just created for the next level audience. So check out the show notes. The link is in there. I invite you with open arms, and I'm looking forward to growing with you. Until next time, progress always.